On today's episode, we're building a transfer pump so we can get water into our system from a jerry can. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, Matt here for ABC and welcome back to the shop. A difficult part of van life can be finding a hose bib so that we can successfully fill up our water system when we're boondocking or in certain parts of the country. Personally, I know Moab is a pretty difficult place to do this, and that is my main point of inspiration for today's project. And today's project is going to be solving that problem, and what we're doing is building a transfer pump so that we can pump water from a jerry can or a bucket or whatever you have into your water system without the need for a garden hose. So it's a pretty quick assembly of parts. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's required at the table in the shop. So now we're here in the shop. Let's take a look at the parts required to build this transfer pump. So the first and most important piece is going to be our pump itself. This is a submersible water pump, and we just want to make sure we get a submersible water pump that is safe for drinking water. There's lots of submersible pumps on there. They're not all labeled safe for drinking water. This one that's red, white, and blue I know is. In the past, I had some units that were gray that weren't specifically for drinking water. They might all be the same, but we're using the drinking water safe one. Right. This has a lead that comes off of it, so we have to provide power to this, and we're gonna have to connect that power to our van. So I have a 12-volt socket adapter here that I can just plug into a cigarette lighter in the van. I always put a 12-volt outlet on the back of my water tanks or back of my water cabinet just for this reason. And this one is super nice because I can plug it into that cigarette lighter and has a push button for on and off. So I can throw my pump in the water, turn it on, pump the water in, and then I can turn it off. It's just one less thing to kind of think about or manage and one less thing to wire. We're going to need a length of hose that's going to connect our pump to our water fitting. I did about 5 feet here of silicone hose. This is used for like brewing or whatever. As long as it's food safe, you're fine. I like this one because it doesn't kink up as easily than like that clear vinyl hose, and this should taste better, which is one of the reasons we're doing this whole thing anyway. Then the next piece is going to be just a garden hose adapter. So this is just something you'd use at home to repair your garden hose. It goes to a regular garden hose hookup, which is what we use for our Aqua water fittings to pump into the van. So that you just want to make sure this is specific. That's going to adapt and go into your vehicle. For using Aqua, this is the one you need. Then we just have a couple of parts here. So I have some electrical connections, some just crimp-on spade fittings. You could use a butt splice, you could use a Wago, whatever you have. And then I need one hose ring for this as well, just to secure that tubing onto the submersible pump. So make sure that's stainless. The tools for our job today are going to be pretty simple. We need a way to cut, splice, and crimp electrical wires. We need a Phillips screwdriver, and for mine, because I have heat shrink terminals, we need a torch so we can do this as a heat shrink. Now, it's a pretty simple job. So our first step is going to be putting our electrical connections together so that we can let the heat shrink some time to cool before we put it all together. So we're just going to strip these wires out, and I want about 3/8 of an inch of exposed copper on these. Make sure they're twisted together, and then I'm going to put my female sides on this side here. So I just insert that there into a crimp. Again here, so insert inside the sheathing. Okay, I'm going to hold it there in place. Then I'm going to crimp the wire in. Once it's crimped in place, I'm just going to do a little pull test to make sure that connection is good, and those are set up. So I'm going to do the opposite sides on my pump connection side here. So these are just male connectors. So push it down into the tube. Go ahead and crimp that together. Same thing. Inside my terminal here. And crimp. Because these are Scotch lock heat shrinks, I'm just going to go ahead and hit them with a torch here. Give them a little bit of a rotisserie. And you can see the hot glue inside and the heat shrinking is sealing down to give us a nice watertight seal. That is going to be really durable. We'll do the same thing here on the female side. Okay, and that's all set. Now these are going to be super hot. So while those cool down, let's go ahead and get our water set up. So I've disassembled my garden hose assembly piece here. So this is just going to insert over the top of my silicone tubing. Okay, so that goes over the top, and then the little vice clamps just go over the top of that. It's a really simple way to do this. And then we just put our screws in. Okay, so that's nice and tight. Make sure I put my O-ring in here. Okay, so that is ready to go. And the other end here, I'm going to slide my hose clamp onto my tubing, and then it's just a press fit onto this pump fitting. So this here is actually another press fit. And this comes with this water pump. It's just a one-way check valve with a little pre-filter inside. So there's a little particulate filter there. It's not gonna do anything for quality, anything like that. Just keep any sediment or anything like that from getting into your water system. And then just has a hose barb on this side. So we just push our silicone tubing over that, and then we're gonna put the clamp on there. Okay, so pretty tight on there too. I'm just gonna bend the excess around my wiring here just to keep the two together. The last step for my system, because I'm gonna go into an Aquor connection, is I have a spare Aquor here in the shop, so I'm just gonna go ahead and spin this on here. I like leaving my Aquor connections on devices if I have a spare spigot. If you don't have a spare spigot, then you can just swap this on and off from your regular fill hose, or this could just go onto your fill hose, but better to keep it short because these aren't the highest pressure. Okay, and then now that our power connections are cooled off, we can go ahead and make this plug. So we're just gonna plug in black to brown and blue to red. And we're ready to go pump some water in the van. So we got all of our parts assembled and they're here in my hand. I have a jerry can that is full of water, or halfway full of water here. So I'll go ahead and set that on the ground. And all we have to do is put in our submersible water pump into there, connect our Aquor fitting into our house system. Gonna open the valve so we can pump water in. Then we just plug this into our cigarette lighter here and turn the button on, and that is gonna start pumping water into our system. Now there's no bubbles in the water or anything like that, so it's pretty uneventful looking, but if we unplug it here, so as you can see, this transfer pump is doing its job and we are pumping water through the system. So if you would like to build this project for yourself, take a look at the links in the description below. We'll have all the parts and everything there so you can order those up for yourself. If you learned something today, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next video.